Hello, kitties. It's terrible triple feature time again. I'm reporting from the ancestral home, visiting my parents. It is the final installment of Black Awesomeness Month for this year of our Lord 2013. And, my friends, I've got a doozy for you. That's right, we're doing Famous Monsters of Blaxploitationland. These are films that feature classic universal horror style monsters, but with a twist. The twist is that they're black this time. I know that comes as a shock, but bear with me. It'll make sense soon. Our menu includes Blackenstein, the Black Frankenstein, Dr. Black, Mr. Hyde, and Blacula. Now, with Blackenstein, you have to love a movie that starts with complete disrespect for the audience's intelligence. There's the actual title card when it says Blackenstein. Underneath it says The Black Frankenstein, because we couldn't put it together. Blackenstein, Frankenstein, just duh. It was right in front of us. And to put it in perspective, that Frankenweenie movie that just came out, that's aimed at children. And it doesn't read Frankenweenie, the dog Frankenstein. So, were audiences that clueless back then? Or are we just more sophisticated now? In the film, poor Eddie Turner has lost both his arms and his legs in the NAM, but somehow, not received any other injuries from the landmine. But luckily, science! But unfortunately, conniving lab assistant Dr. Malcolm has the hots for Eddie's girl, so he sabotages the experiment, resulting in a slight case of Frankensteinism in Eddie. But it just so happens that Dr. Stein, the actual scientist doing the whole experiment, has a dungeon just for this sort of occasion. I mean, you wonder, does he have, on the informed consent, possible side effects, Frankensteinism? Because Dr. Stein is really, not surprised that this sort of thing could happen. So, what follows is just just nothing, really. It's kind of sad, because you have Blackenstein, the Black Frankenstein, and he doesn't really do anything. He spends most of the movie in bed, and when he wakes up, he just shambles around, growling and giving, the occasional death hug. But never enough death hugs. I mean, there's just not enough that happens in this movie. As opposed to our next movie, Dr. Black, Mr. Hyde, in which Mr. Hyde is perpetually grabbing pimps and or prostitutes and throwing them into the air. Bernie, I was the Black Felix Leiter before it was cool to be the Black Felix Leiter. Casey stars as Dr. Pride, who is trying to come up with some sort of cure for an equally vague liver condition, which his mother suffered from. His mother, we will learn, was a madam, or not exactly a madam. She was more of the custodian of a bordello. But when she succumbed to her liver condition, none of the pimps or prostitutes would come to her aid, thus creating a deep-seated hatred in Dr. Pride for the oldest profession. Dr. Pride has this bizarre serum that possibly cures. All we know for sure is that it turns black mice white and makes them very aggressive. So, of course, he tries the serum out on himself, turning him into Mr. Hyde, which is a, same size, but a white version of Bernie Casey with a little bit of a Cro-Magnon brow, provided by Stan Winston in an early makeup job. Mr. Hyde goes on rampage after rampage, at times, or alternatingly, grabbing pimps by the groin and throwing them into the air, or running over pimps with a car while the pimp desperately tries to defend himself with a switchblade. Which, practical advice, never bring a switchblade to a car fight. You're gonna lose. Eventually, Mr. Hyde gets his King Kongy comeuppance, but not before doing other horrible things. I mean, Mr. Hyde's really, really terrible. And the scene where Dr. Pride basically says, yeah, but this is cool, kind of makes him even worse because he's okay with it. And by it, I mean mashing dogs and killing. In a lot of ways, it has a very toxic Avenger vibe because Mr. Hyde is mashing crime into pieces, like a lot. There's one part where he just picks up one prostitute and throws her. Not into anything. She just goes until she lands horribly on the ground. And you alternate this with a lot of bad acting and or plot devices. Like my favorite is when Dr. Hyde manhandles a whole bunch of pimps in a bar, and then he feels his Mr. Hyde juice wearing off, so he runs outside and reverts back to Dr. Pride, and the pimps go after him, and they find this guy wearing the exact same outfit as Mr. Hyde 2 seconds ago, but because he's, not white, it can't be the same guy. It's pretty funny, and I really liked it. It's on YouTube in its entirety for free, so if you have a chance and or 85 minutes, go watch that. It's a good time. But the even better time is Blacula. I'd never watched Blacula before, and I'm kind of kicking myself for not doing it, because this movie's actually pretty awesome. I mean, it's a horror movie, but it's a good horror movie. This wasn't particularly stupid, as the name Blacula would imply. But William, King of Cartoons Marshall, stars as Mama Walde, cursed by Dracula himself to walk the undead and be badass. I cannot stress how great Marshall is in this movie. The whole opening sequence, it just felt like something that could have been out of a Black Panther cartoon. Or, not cartoon, comic book. If you don't know the Black Panther comic books, you should read them, especially Christopher Priest's Marvel Knights run. But, just imagine how awesome in the 70s it could have been with, William Marshall as T'Challa telling Dracula, to get his undead ass out of Wakanda, or there was going to be some shit. Right? So, like I said, this movie is actually pretty good. Mama Walde's, in the 70s, going about making vampires, including a pair of gay vampires, which you might want to go back to one of my earlier videos, Great Moments in Gay Vampire History, because I completely missed this one and should have included it. But anyway. But Mama Walde's making vampires and, macking on the reincarnation of his dead wife. And we got, these crusading cops that are, above average competence level, and everybody's trying to do their, the best that they can. It's all pretty good. I mean, this is how I want to close up Black Awesomeness Month, with this nice little gem of a movie that I never knew about and wouldn't have watched otherwise. Blacula. Yeah. Good end to Black Awesomeness Month. Blackenstein, Dr. Black, Mr. Hyde, and Blacula. Next week, no longer Black Awesomeness Month, so we're going to let white people back into the mix. Don't worry, they'll be, friendly white people, and hopefully just more than a little cool. Maybe a little Val Kilmer. All right. Talk to you later.